Our company is Clean Energy Fuels Corporation. We are the Monday 7 p.m. group with Izzy, DeYoung, Curtis, and Parker. Clean Energy Fuels Corp is a company driven by passion to change the future of this company for the better. Entrepreneur T. Boone Pickens and the CEO Andrew Littlefair have a mission to create a greener planet by creating renewable natural gas, RNG, the cleanest fuel to meet the demand for negative carbon fueling solutions. The company's history goes all the way back to 1988, when they first started powering commercial trucks that carry large amounts of gas and diesel. By 1993, they created natural gas conversion kits for the companies such as UPS and United States Postal. And by 1997, they brought in the business to California and purchased 33 natural gas stations from SoCal Gas Company. In 2007, the company was made public. In 2010, Clean Energy Fuels started a partnership with Pilot Flying J, which is the largest truck stop operator in the US, and they reached the sales goal of over 214 million GGEs of natural gas in 2013. They started a 7-year commitment with UPS that was made for 170 million of GGEs of RNG, and this is the purchase that surpassed any other purchases of RNG in US history. In 2021, the company is still focusing completely on the creation and sales of RNG and creating a sustainable environment for the country. Their current strategies that are employed are continuing to be the largest provider of RNG in the US today and working towards making RNG fully zero carbon by the year of 2025. While looking at the world around the company and analyzing the external factors, political, legal, and regulatory forces seem to be a driving factor. Nationally, the Clean Air Act was enacted in 1963 to reduce and control pollution nationwide. This was essentially an opportunity for clean energy fuels, as the act endorses what the company stands for. In addition, social and cultural forces seem to be a driving factor as well. Not only nationally, but around the globe, more and more people, and especially younger generations, are looking for more ways to be environmentally friendly, and Clean Energy Fuels has a great image for those who endorse that. Technological changes, on the other hand, can be somewhat of a threat to clean energy fuels. There are several technological changes happening outside of the company. These changes include electric cars, flex fuel, and biobutanol as competitive sources and threats that are being produced in contrast to RNG. Tesla is one of these companies that is a competitive source. Fighting to make electric cars a new norm. It may be important for Clean Energy Fuels to be aware of these competitors and even consider their product being used for everyday car use. As far as general economic conditions are concerned, there is not much to be worried about, with the US growth rate at 7% and the inflation rate at 5.25%. External demographics benefit from the company. These include dairy farmers, transportation companies, construction companies, and waste management companies. Lastly, ecological and the natural environment is benefited from the company, as its primary goal is to improve air quality and the environment. When we look at the internal side of the company, there are several resources that are impacted. Each of these resources listed here are the most important as part of the internal analysis. This includes the brand recognition and brand of the company, the patent of RNG tech, refining RNG process, the storage in the warehouse, R&D that keeps the tech edge and develops new products and processes, LNG equipment, customer basis and their testimonials, financing and grants, facility inspection and testing service program, and the customer care program.
So now we're going to look at the financial metrics for clean energy fuel. The first one we're going to look at is the current asset ratio. So for clean energy fuel, we're at a 3.294%, which that is our current assets divided by our current liabilities. So it shows that we are able to cover our current liabilities 3 times over. Where when we look at Northwest Natural, they're at 0.53, so they can only cover half the current liabilities. And Amoresco is at 1.2, and Archaea is actually looking good at 4.9. The problem with that 4.9, though, is that really could imply that they're really not leveraging their finances as efficiently as they could be. Like for us at a 3.2, that does show that we are a little bit more conservative. We're not expanding as aggressively as some other people might be. But, if something unpredicted happened, like another recession or a global pandemic, that we will still be, in the short term, we will still be able to cover all our financial obligations. The next one we're going to look at is our return on asset. So each dollar that we invest into our assets for the company, how much return are we getting on that? So for us, right now, we are operating at a net loss. So we're at a negative 1.16, which in the short run, that is not a bad place to be, especially like us, where we are a younger company, so we are expanding. For a while, having a net loss is not going to be bad, especially when we look at our current assets, where we are more than able to cover our short-term liabilities. So right now we're at negative 1.16. We look at Northwest Natural, where they are a more established company. They've been around for a while, and also they do produce natural gas, not renewable natural gas. Where the other two, Amoresco and Archaea, they are renewable natural gas as well. So that way you can see how we are to a traditional natural gas producer who uses things that are more harmful, like fracking, as opposed to renewable. So Northwest, they're doing great at 27.13. We hope that we'll be there fairly soon. And then Amoresco, they're at a 3.25, which is great. It is showing that they are getting a return. And Archaea is along the same lines as we are at a negative 1.39%. So the next metric that we're going to look at is our gross profit margin. So that's the revenue minus the gross profit, or the cost of goods sold, divided by the revenue. And it shows how profitable are we really. So when we're looking at clean energy fuel, we're running at a 48.38%, which, that's really good. When we're compared to Northwest Natural, obviously we were falling a bit shy. They're at 188.51%, but they're not building up the infrastructure like we are. Natural gas has been around for a while. It is a little bit different than renewable natural gas. So we are having to put more into the infrastructure that goes along with it. So our cost of goods sold are going to be a little bit higher while we are building up those economies of scale. But we are getting there, especially when we look at the other two renewable natural gases that are on the list. Amoresco is at a 22.20%, and Archaea is at a 28.19%. So what this is showing us is that we are definitely outpacing others like us, but for the natural gas market, we have not quite hit those same metrics that they have, but we will get there.
There are 5 key resources: physical resources, financial resources, intellectual resources, human resources, digital resources. Of these 5 resources, the primary resource of the company is the physical resource. Hydrogen is a clean fuel that, when consumed in a fuel cell, produces only water. Hydrogen can be produced from a variety of domestic resources such as natural gas, nuclear power, biomass, and renewable power like solar and wind. Clean energy fuels break down organic waste into biogas to produce renewable natural gas, which it then sells through its stations primarily to medium and heavy-duty commercial vehicles. And the company's key resource, physical resources, fits into many of the VRIN models. Value. Millennium gas is a resource that can bring value, so it can be a source of competitive advantage. There is probably no one who is not concerned about global warming. Rareness. Millennial gas is not a resource available to all competitors. As a fuel that reduces air pollution, our company's technological prowess is by far the highest in the technology obtained. Imitability. Since it is a fuel developed with our technology, there is no imitability. Non-substitutable. This fuel cannot be replaced by other resources. As the external environment evolves, our company's goals have evolved steadily. And today, global warming is a global issue. Our products don't just apply to a few people. There's a reason why we should use that fuel for everyone on Earth. Our company will grow in proportion to the seriousness of social issues. However, if we find a way to provide a lower price in terms of price, I think we will be able to achieve sales growth regardless of external environment such as economic growth, regulatory, or political system.
Hi, I'd like to take the next few minutes to talk about the SWOT analysis that we've created. When creating our SWOT analysis, we used the internal and external analysis that we did earlier in the semester, and we wanted to build off it, and this is the end product that we've come up with. If you look at the strengths, we can see that they have a growing supply network, and it's definitely been growing over the past several years, even with everything that has been going on with the economy and the pandemic. We also see that there's an ample source of renewable energy, specifically due to clean energy's primary resource being manure. They've also created strong partnerships and joint ventures. They have partnered with Pilot Flying J, as we've highlighted previously in our presentation. They've also struck deals with Chevron and Amazon this year, which are huge gets for clean energy. And they also recently entered a joint venture with British Petroleum. As far as weaknesses go, when doing research, we noticed they didn't really have a market presence outside of North America. And while they are making great momentum, it definitely seems to be the logical step to not only just expand further in the US, but to look into neighboring markets like Canada and Mexico to see if that's a way to start building an international brand. They've also had difficulties handling new entrants into the market, specifically just in clean energy in general, with Tesla, other natural renewable gas companies, and just natural gas companies. It's a highly competitive field, and it can be hard to separate from the competitors. I also did some research and saw that clean energy fuel has had a few acquisitions in the past several years that have not gone over as smoothly as they would have liked. So that to me says that when they're doing these, they might be rushing a little bit into these. So going forward, to make sure when making such acquisitions, to find companies that not only match up with the mission statement of the company, but the core values and the overall work culture to make those transitions smoother. And if we look at the opportunities, we see that the federal tax credits for clean energy companies, that has been extended until the end of 2023, which gives them a couple more years to really build that momentum further and push forward. They also have the opportunity to capitalize on the clean energy movement that is going around the world. It's definitely on everyone's mind right now, so it's a perfect time for them to really push that narrative forward and show that they can come in and provide a service. And also, we have the government grain drive. The government is encouraging local governments to make deals with clean gas companies. So we could have police cars, ambulances running on natural renewable gases, and that's definitely a big opportunity for them to capitalize on. As far as threats go, electronic vehicles have been growing. As we all know, Teslas are everywhere. You see them every day almost at this point. And also there's solar power vehicles that might be entering the fray in the next couple of years. There's definitely, I mean, we've seen some models popping up here and there, but that's definitely something to keep your eye out on, especially if you're clean energy fuel. I know I put this as an opportunity, but it also is a threat. The tax credits, while they were extended, we don't know what's going to happen after that intermediate term, after the 2 years. So it's definitely means that clean energy really needs to capitalize and make huge strides to continue the momentum they've gathered over the past few years. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a highly competitive field. It's very cutthroat. There's new companies popping up every day. So it's going to be sometimes hard to differentiate yourself and maintain your brand image. And going forward, we'll go ahead and go over the summary we have here. Clean energy fuel is really setting themselves to be successful with the strong partnerships and joint ventures that we mentioned. They really could establish themselves as the preeminent natural renewable gas company in the United States and in North America if they play their cards right. And as Gian mentioned, clean energy fuels has strong access to physical resources that really co-align with the VRIN model, which is huge. It's something that companies really strive to hit. And lastly, as Curtis mentioned in his segment, financially, the company is doing very well. They're setting themselves up apart from a lot of their competitors. And hopefully with the next years, if they continue the momentum, they can continue to close the gap on them and natural gas companies and even other clean energies like electric vehicles, and really build their name for themselves.